It was Ghost Rider, all right, crossing the finishing line with an average speed of 41 miles per hour. So Ghost Rider, first in the Miami to Nassau race, and now first in the Cowes to Torquay, gets the 2 blue ribbons of offshore powerboat racing for her owner, Hugh Doyle. Co-driver Bob Sherbert had smashed his ankles when caught off balance in rough water off Portland. For nearly 2 hours, he had lain painfully in the bottom of the boat, refusing to let Jim Wynne retire and get him to hospital. But they had won. 42 minutes ahead of the next boat, Britain's Spirit of Ecstasy. Out of 40 starters, 18 finished. And that's powerboat racing for you. The agony and the ecstasy.
Sir Francis Chichester's solo round-the-world voyage in Gypsy Moth 4, with 1 stop in Australia, had set yachtsmen wondering whether the trip could be made non-stop. Then Sir Alec Rose, the greengrocer sailor from Southsea, completed the same voyage, also with 1 stop, but in a smaller 20-year-old yacht designed for family cruising. This varied collection of sailing boats had one thing in common. They were all fitted with self-steering gear. For it's this device, developed by lone yachtsman Colonel Blondie Hasler, that has made solo long-distance sailing so popular in recent years, and has made it possible for men to attempt the Everest of the sea, the non-stop round-the-world trip.
Sailing round the world. This idea first occurred to me as a naval cadet at about the age of 15.
10 men, leaving separately, were competing for a Golden Globe for the first boat home and £5,000 for the fastest man round. Galway Blazer II, 42 feet long, with Chinese junk sails on unstayed masts, proved on trials to be a flight. Speeds up to 10 knots were recorded, and she handled like a dinghy. The biggest danger to the lone yachtsman at sea is the risk of being run down by a ship, for a man cannot stay on watch indefinitely. He must sleep sometime. So he keeps well clear of the shipping lanes, and the automatic steering gear keeps his small boat on course. A naval launch towed Galway Blazer II to the starting line off the breakwater. Once clear of the coast, Bill King would head south for about 6,000 miles to round the Cape of Good Hope, eastwards across the southern Indian Ocean and southern Pacific to the notorious Cape Horn. Then the long haul home up the Atlantic. The exploits of Britain's sailors added glory to the reign of the first Queen Elizabeth. Bill King and the other lone sailors are doing no less for the second Elizabethan age.
Bigger and faster ships, which have doubled the world's seaborne trade over the last 12 years, are too often on a collision course, say the experts, especially in the approaches to the English Channel. Every day, 750 ships pass through the 5-mile-wide shipping channel of the Straits of Dover, making this the busiest and the most dangerous sea lane in the world. There are 25 collisions a year, 5 times as many as 12 years ago. Now, a new 2-lane traffic system is being tried out at sea for the first time. Northbound ships are advised to take a new channel near the French coast. Southbound ships take the old channel along the English coast. One-way traffic, in other words. This is the river of endlessly flowing history, the river without which there would be no London. The river of breathless beauty and teeming commerce, both changing and changeless. Kings have sailed on it, feudal overlords have jousted on its frozen surface, and millions of people have loved it. But how is Britain's most famous waterway measuring up to the demands of today? One of the problems is lost traffic in a port which handles 1/3 of all Britain's imports and exports. Despite setbacks, the signs point to a new surge in foreign trade. Can the river, with its present port setup, handle it? We've moved into the heyday of the supertanker, the mighty bulk cargo carrier. The new and bigger ships need deeper water and the last word in discharging gear. It all adds up to a radical reassessment of port facilities. Into the docks with their big ships and a big deal in cars going out to the world. Next door, Sunday's joint is coming in. Out of the pool with its barges and lighters. The biggest lighterage company on the river owns more than 600 of these craft.
It's the narrowboats and their people who still cradle the old traditions of the canals. Generation after generation has been born and raised within the few square feet which are at once their living and their home. But the canal folk are proud of their traditional brasswork, their paintings and their china, and such a tradition of work and craftsmanship dies hard. But although the canals are tideless, time has turned against them. Neglect and deliberate financial sabotage by the old railway companies have taken heavy toll of what was once a brilliantly engineered communication system. Yet our overcrowded roads offer only small savings in time and are frequently more expensive per ton-mile for certain types of bulk cargo than the deserted canals. And this same overcrowding has encouraged a new race of canal people to take to the waterways purely for the joy of it. Some keep their cruising craft on a pleasant reach. A few prefer complete freedom of choice. The modern outboard engine has undeniable advantages over the horse. But naturally, in any well-conducted crew, it's still women and children first. The enjoyment of the canals is not confined to the private boat owner. When John Nash designed London's Regent's Canal in 1810, he prophesied an annual 250,000-ton traffic. His figures were soon to prove conservative. Today, the Regent's Canal is a splendid way to go to the zoo.
River Irwell at Manchester, a sorry comment on the state of some of Britain's rivers. But the Agecroft Rowing Club have been rowing on the Irwell for 100 years. They say the river is far cleaner now than it was 50 years ago. There was a time when it was so thick with debris that rowing was almost abandoned. Today, about 100,000 amateur oarsmen row on rivers, lakes, reservoirs, gravel pits, the open sea, anywhere there's enough water to float a boat. Even a little boat. Nor is rowing just a sport for men. One of the best-known women's clubs is the Stuart Ladies at Clapton in London. They've won many races, no mean feat since their members will keep getting married and leaving. Nottingham and Union Rowing Club have won a great number of trophies, but they've never won at Henley Royal Regatta, the ambition of every oarsman. Another crew entered for the Wyfolds at Henley is from the Argosies, the National Rowing Club of dockers from ports all over Britain. Until a few years ago, these men would not have been eligible to compete in amateur regattas. An old ruling was that no mechanic, artisan or labourer could be an amateur. But now the definition of an amateur in rowing is in line with that in other sports. By the beginning of July, the pleasant little riverside town of Henley is bursting at the seams. However attractive the distractions, the serious business of the day is watching the rowing. In their first race, the Argosies 4 meet Crowland, an artisans club from the River Lee. The race for the most coveted rowing trophy in the world, the Grand Challenge Cup, is always the high spot of the day. The Russians are rowing against Britain's premier club, Leander. The Russians move ahead soon after the start, and in spite of a strong challenge by Leander, win by a length. Months of training and effort have gone into less than 7 minutes. The climax of the day's racing is over. When there is no more racing to be seen, the crowds throng the river and the fairground until long into the warm summer night. It's a scene which has become part of contemporary English history.